Hello and welcome to the Enquiry podcast. My name is Nerida Mills. I am your host, and it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you along for this episode. What we do in the Enquiry podcast is really explore and inquire with experts in their field in regards to what it is that actually creates a human experience, and more importantly, what it is that we can use to influence the human experience for our own development, growth, and expansion. So welcome along. Let's dive in, and I hope you enjoy. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Enquiry podcast. My name is Nerida Mills, and it is my absolute pleasure to have Pania Langley. That's how I say your name.
Pania Langley, yes.
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 With me today. I met Pania a couple of weeks back now at a PR event, both learning how to get ourselves out there. And I felt your power as soon as I met you. So I'm very excited for today's conversation. Why don't you start by just introducing yourself? Let us know a little bit about who you are, what your background is, and then we can flow from there.
So I think the first thing I would love to say about myself is that I am an energetic being. Like, that's the first thing that comes to mind when someone says, please introduce yourself. And I'm like, I'm just an energetic being. Like, aside from what I do and the roles I have in my everyday life, like a mother, wife. And so that's basically who I am in my core. I founded Brave Spaces, a little business that I run to bring in community and connection and spread who I am and my life to other people. And that's basically what I'm doing at the moment. It's energetic healing, coaching, and connection with women. So that's what I'm doing right now.
Amazing. That's very cool. Obviously work that needs to be had. So amazing to hear that you're in amongst it, getting getting into the trenches of it. We know that for healers, myself included, like the healing modality often comes from a space of wanting to heal oneself, right? We get into it because we want to sort our own shit out. And then through the process of doing that, we go, now I want to help other people. So what was that journey like for you?
That's definitely 100% where my journey started. Like, it wasn't like I'm just wanting to help people now. It just came from my own personal journey. And that's why I'm so real and raw with the things that I speak into, because I think that's what's relatable to people. We're not out here just living this spiritual, as people say, woo-woo kind of life. It comes from like the raw, real trenches of your life. And for me, that started with what I'm so open about, and that is my drug addiction that I had. And my choice of drug was methamphetamine. And once I started to go on that journey of self-discovery and self-healing, like the doors and the flood of all this beautiful things came through to me. And so that's where like it really, really started for me through that. And it wasn't a fun time. Like I always say that. I always say healing is not a fun time. Everyone may look or be scrolling past these things in social media and stuff, or see me on social media and think, oh, this is so beautiful. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's constant work. We're constantly doing it. So
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. I believe in the practice, right? For me,
yes.
it's the practice is what the practice is, and I can't, whatever the saying is, but it's before enlightenment, chop wood; after enlightenment, chop wood, right? There's no stopping the chopping of the wood, just get in and get it done. So really interesting. I find it really fascinating. Like, I've had a lived experience of addiction through past relationship, and also I've worked with a lot of clients with addiction issues. And one of the things that I notice with people who have addiction things, well, there's two things. One is that there's a low underlying sense of for lack of a better word, anxiety. But I think what drives that anxiety is a knowing that something's not right.
Yeah.
Um, and and a heightened sensitivity. So it's nearly like canaries in the coal mine, right? So I think with people who have a natural higher level of sensitivity to the world around them, often to be healers, etc. Plus this knowing inside of themselves, not necessarily knowing where it comes from, of there's something that's just not sitting well with me, whether that's from your own history and your own experience or the world at large. I find it's a really interesting common thread that I notice with people.
Yeah. And for me, it was like people pleasing and wanting to please and wanting to be loved and liked. And it was so funny because I seen somebody else on a podcast, and he said he was recovering from addiction. And he said, I was born to be an addict. And I just found that so profound, because once you're coming out of it, and once you look at your life as a whole, then you really start to see like this path and this journey was meant for me. And like I just think that it's so cliche that everything happens for a reason kind of thing. And but I think that this was where I was meant to be. This was like what I was meant to go through, and this was the journey that I was meant to be on. And I am a super sensitive person. I want to be liked. I want to be loved. I want to help people. And I've always been like that, even as a kid, because sometimes I have disassociated myself a lot from my younger childhood, from things that I've went through as well. And so now going on this journey, there's been a lot of awakening, and I've been able to like go back to those parts of my life and realize I was a very, very sensitive child. And that made me, and I'm still a very sensitive being now. I'm so sensitive. And, and I've remembered people and family and friends saying to me, oh, you're so sensitive, or you're so emotional, or it is a connecting factor, I think, to having addictions, and not just drug addictions either. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, lots of other, well, not substance addiction either. It's like these repetitive things in your life. Yeah.
Well, they're self-soothing, right? Addiction is a soothing mechanism. So whatever that is for you. And we've all got them. And I don't think addiction in and of itself ever goes away, but we can certainly increase the quality of the expression.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I'm addicted to is that that moment when you see someone recognize their brilliance. Totally.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm the same. Like, my addictions went from like very extreme, toxic, unhealthy, not like, not serving me. And now I'm addicted to a lot of other things that people think I'm still crazy for, right? Like, they're like, oh my God, she needs to do this ritual, or like she needs to do this thing. But they're like, now they're supporting my nervous system and doing all the things. So, yeah.
I love that. So with this heightened sensitivity and awareness that you do have, what are you noticing are the themes in your world and in society playing out? I know that's a really big question.
Yes.
But I'm curious.
I think especially when I'm holding space for women in particular, because facilitate women's circles, sister circles, we sit in space. I think the heightened sensitivity that comes up a lot, especially in women, is this need to be liked, and again, so people pleasing, and like wanting to be loved, wanting to be heard, wanting to be seen, wanting to be witnessed. And so for me, like, I'm just wanting to create the space of safety. And I'm not sure if that's answered your question.
No, it does actually. Yeah. And because one of the things that I'm noticing is like an urge to come back to some of our primal states, and in a modern world, right? And so it's kind of this weird juxtaposition, but the one of the primal states is women in community. Like we were always together in conversation. There was always, there was an opportunity for that support and for that feeling of being heard and for being valued and for being recognized for the contribution that we make within the tribe, right? And men can go a long time in silence because that's what they needed to do to hunt and whatever. But women, we really need to talk. We really need to be in that connection space. And so, yeah, it's interesting that you say that because it is a primal driver that kind of reaffirms where my brain's at.
Yeah. And I feel like that, and I speak into that a lot. It's one of my first opening lines when I'm holding space for women. Women have been gathering for years, for centuries, for generations across all different cultures. We would come together to bleed, to tell stories, to raise each other's children. Like this is just something that's natural. And I feel like this is a really beautiful time. We are in that time of, we are wanting to reconnect with something deeper. The world is going so fast. It's at a pace that I feel like sometimes I can't even keep up with. Technology is, running our lives nowadays. And I think women are being called to come back to that natural state. And I see it a lot when I'm raising my own daughter in this generation. They're seeing themselves online constantly. There's this constant need for still the same wanting to be liked, and wanting to be loved, looking at ourselves in the reflection, constantly comparing ourselves. And that's one of my hugest passions, is not healing myself, but healing like the next generation, or helping the next generation grab the tools that they need and share with them what we were doing, a long time ago, and encouraging them to tap into that and not just other things like health, fitness, and nutrition, because it's like the top, like those are the things that they're thinking about when it comes to like taking care of themselves, but really stripping that back and looking inward and using things and talking about things and using different modalities that probably wouldn't be in their vocabulary, really, and making it modern as well, because that's like, I want to be
that's the balance point, right? Is that we've got to bring it into the modern world, because like when you're talking about that reflection piece, it's interesting. If we go back to the primal standpoint, you wouldn't see yourself.
No.
When we were developing, I don't know whichever way is right, but there would be very few opportunities to actually see your own reflection. So where we would see our reflection would be in the feedback we got from our tribe around our actions or behaviors.
Yes.
And how we would develop and grow. And now there's this massive emphasis on the reflection of the physical form rather than over the actions, right? It's sort of like how you look is more important than how you behave.
Yeah.
Which is so interesting to bring it back. Like I've got two daughters and a stepdaughter as well, and then a son and two stepsons. So there's a lot, but they're all kind of, even our youngest is just about to turn 13. So, well and truly through the teenage years for most of them now. And it's been really interesting to watch that play out and how it creates so much tension in the mind, because I think it's such an unnatural state. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And even like through my journey and my healing process, I have witnessed in my daughter the mirroring and the reflection of how I have changed and how I grow. And now when I look at my daughter, I see her as a reflection of me, or a mirror of me, and I see the growth and the change that's happening in her, because obviously during my time I wasn't always making the right choices, I wasn't being the best role model, and that played out, and that still plays out in her life a little bit now. But now, like, I am making better conscious choices and doing right things for me. I can see that reflection in her. So to witness that in your own children is really, really, like, that's the biggest thing that I'm doing right now, is making sure that I am the best version of myself. So that can be a reflection to not just my daughter. It's important for my daughter, but I have other children. I have 2 boys as well. So being that reflection, having her as a reflection.
Yeah, I love that. And I 100% am on board with what you're saying with the reflection piece. I believe the same thing. And I find it really interesting to watch that dynamic as I shift, they shift, or as I'm challenged, they're challenged. Like there's been times where I'm struggling with something and I don't know how to articulate it. And my daughter will come up to me and be like, Mum, I'm struggling. And she will literally fucking word for word pretty much say the dialogue that's going on in my brain, right? That's her struggle. And I was just like, holy crap, that's just undeniable.
I know,
But then we grow together, right? We evolve together.
That's true, yes.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. And I always say to my daughter as well, like, if I knew what you know now, like, she is wise beyond her years. And she's like, but I know what I know now because of you. And that is just like, that's everything to me.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's really important, like, for people who are listening, if you're going through something or if you find yourself showing up in a way that you're not proud of, I think, your story is testament to this, and mine is as well, in the sense that you can come from a really dark place. And when you pull yourself out of that really dark place, what your kids learn from it is that they can overcome anything, right? It's not that you failed or that you've been a bad parent or whatever. It's actually the example of no matter where they get to in their life or the hardships that they face in their life, they're going to be okay, and they can do that through conscious choice of bringing themselves out, which is such a beautiful gift.
Yeah, sometimes as parents, we're hard on ourselves and we micro pick every little thing that we've done wrong and all the bad choices we made. But I truly, like, I say to my daughter and my kids, I'm doing this for the first time as well. I've never been a 40-year-old woman on this planet doing the things I'm doing. I'm learning and experiencing all of life and everything the world is putting towards me for the first time, just like you're experiencing it for the first time as well. So I think we have to be, that's something I practice a lot, is to not be so hard on myself. It's probably the most times that I go inward to really work on that, to not be so hard on myself, to not judge myself for my past mistakes, because my past mistakes were like pretty wild. So I have to be kind to myself. I have to be gentle and just be kind to myself and know that I've done the best that I could and I'm doing the best that I can now. So yeah,
that's a really beautiful message. Speaking of messages, if you could get women to understand one thing, just innately, like just get this one thing, what would that be?
I think it would be that we should listen to our body more. And just even then, I was like, how do I need to respond to this question? I'm going to go inward. Listening to our bodies more. This up here it'll just run rampant. It'll just take you places that aren't even true, are unimaginable. And our bodies, our first responders, like, I think if we just take 1 minute to just tune in, it doesn't have to be like you're spending the whole day. It doesn't have to take immense amount of time or effort. If you just take a minute then and tune in to what your body is really telling you, then you can feel so many more feelings, emotions, and that can be expressed like outward. And it's just, tuning in.
I love that. I love that. Next question for you. What do you wish that men could understand about women?
What do I wish men could understand about women? I think for me is that I always say to my husband, I don't need your advice. I don't need you to fix it for me. I just need you to ask me what it is that I need, because I could be feeling 100,000 emotions. We are like super emotional beings, I think, as women. And I just think if they stopped and said, do you need support, or do you need advice, or do you need me to hug you or cuddle you, or do you want me to fix this situation? And I say this to my husband all the time, and I've actually learned this in my own parenting style as well, because as a mother you want to just jump in and fix, but I think for men it's very important to ask what we need, instead of just assuming we need things fixed.
I love that. Very important one. Very important. And it's understandable, right? I think men, it's interesting. I was watching the new Top Gun movie. Not Top Gun. What's the other one with Tom Cruise in it? The
Mission Impossible? Mission Impossible. I haven't seen it yet. Yeah.
I was watching the Mission Impossible video, and in the beginning of it, it had like a bit of a kind of recap as to his journey and all of the people that he's lost, and all of the characters that have come and gone through the Mission Impossible series. And all of the people predominantly were women that he'd lost, right? And it's so funny because my brain straight away went to conditioning and went, of course it's all fucking women, right? That was my initial thought. And then I took a beat, and I was like, but why? And because like part of the conditioning that I've experienced, society predominantly, has been that, that's the way because women are weak and women need saving, right? Whereas what I've come to learn and to really appreciate about men is that it's not that at all, actually. It's that they fucking adore us. They love us so much, and they want to be the hero. They want to be the helpers. They want to provide for us in so many ways.
That's their primal, right?
It's their primal, right? They literally want to make movies that just have women as part of the movie, so that they get to hang out and celebrate women. And I think it's a really misunderstood thing for a lot of women. And so when we experience that, a man trying to fix or help, really, we can often go to the conditioning rather than the appreciation and effective communication around what we actually need. So I love that you highlighted that. That's really
cool. And for me, like, it's a very beautiful balance between myself and my husband, because I live very feminine. I live very up here in, like just light and airy, and he's very grounding and very matter of fact. And so that's, that's where we find each other, I suppose, because I just love that word primal. I think I'm going to just be throwing that out everywhere now. That's just like a little light bulb moment for me. But yeah, we're going back to like, we need them and they need us. So
100%. It's the recalibration of the rebalancing of power dynamic, I think, right?
Yes.
Because there was that, obviously it was to an extreme, to the masculine, and then we've tried to reclaim the balance, but gone to a bit of an extreme in the feminine and being like, well, we don't need you at all. And that's also not helpful, right? And but it is part of the evolution of change. So whilst it's not where we want to land, it was an inevitable step. And now coming back into that place, like what I see is more and more people consciously choosing to come into partnership and appreciation with one another. It's not coming from the place that it used to 100 years ago or 150 years ago of need, but it's coming from a place of desire, which is a real, like, it's a totally what is that word? Elevated words. Elevated kind of way of relating compared to what we've had in the past, which does take us back to that primal partnership, because that's what it was. So interesting.
Yes.
My brain just does loops of time logs. Love it.
I love that.
So obviously, you've got a big story to tell, and we've had a snippet of it here. I had the pleasure of listening to you at the at Heidi's shit show event. Really beautiful presentation that you did there, and
Oh, thank
I,
you.
I know, like, stepping into the public eye around a vulnerable story and really owning the shit show that has been.
Yeah, yeah,
We've all got one. Obviously, like I definitely have.
yeah.
Um, it does take a level of vulnerability and choice to allow yourself to be seen. And I would love to hear from you as my final question, what edge you had to meet in yourself around that, um,
Oh, yeah. Good
and
question.
come through. Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, there was, especially with sharing my story, I'd done all the things. For me, I had tried all the things, I'd done all the things, both in modern medicine, like talk therapy and all those kinds of things. I tried that. It didn't work for me. And then I'd gone down a different route and I'd felt like I started to hit a wall of healing, so to speak. And that's when I started to really tune into my body. I was doing a lot of like internal work, and it was when I was like, this needs to be expressed. This needs to be spoken, and
Mm.
not just for maybe possibly calling in and helping other people who are experiencing the same kind of situation, but for me, I needed to do this for me. And so sharing my story and just like not giving a shit, like I don't like, it was just a revelation for me, like where I got to the point of like, I don't care what people are going to say about me because I knew I had done the work.
Yeah.
And so when I started to speak my truth, like, and now I still get like, I still have family who are a little bit uneasy with me speaking the truth. Even sometimes my husband will say, "Are you sure you want to say that?" And I'll be like, I don't care because I know like it there's not even words that I can put to how I feel about speaking my truth, and not it's not that I don't care about what other people think, because trust me, I do. I go down that rabbit hole of like, oh my God, am I, all the things. But it's just, I know how much it benefits me
Mm.
speaking my truth. And I had a client and she said, can you give me they want all the advice. And I said, the biggest thing you can do is to not keep this a secret anymore, because it is internally making you unwell.
Mm.
And I feel like that was what was happening to me as well. I was still not feeling right in my body. And so once I released that with my words, my voice,
Mm.
like I just don't even, yeah, like I said, I can't even put words to how amazing it felt to just, and how it still does. Like, I don't think I'm ever gonna like stop sharing my truth. That might not always be my story.
Yeah.
Um, but it will be like something that I'll take from that and just continue to just be like, I am who I am, and I'm going to just keep showing up as myself.
I love that. Beautiful. What a way to finish. Expression for expression's sake. It is healing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I would love for everybody to know that like speaking your truth there's so much shame and so much judgment, but it's like, who are we doing that? Like, we're only making ourselves
what's the other
feel,
option?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been such a powerful conversation. I know people are inevitably going to want to know more about what it is that you're doing, get involved. So how do they find you?
So you can jump onto my website at www.bravespaces.au. I have all my links, all my offerings there. You can follow me on Insta. I'm an Insta gal at pania.langley. And that's where I show up the most.
Amazing. Very, very cool. Thank you so much again. Really appreciate your time. And I can't wait to hear some feedback from this episode from all of our listeners.
I can't wait to share. I can't wait to pick, like, when you like pick out all the cool little bits that you're like, oh my God, we said that. You're actually so amazing. Like I love how people can articulate things, and like just watching, like I was just intrigued by like watching you and how you were going to like take what I said, and perfect. You're amazing.
Okay, that is it from us for today for the Enquiry podcast. All of the links that you're going to want to find is going to be underneath this episode. So jump along and make sure that you're following the people who do join us for the Enquiry podcast. I'm sure you'll agree they are absolutely phenomenal, and it is my absolute pleasure to be able to have them come in and share their wisdom with everybody. If you're wanting to know what I'm up to, jump onto my website, neridamills.com, and you can check out all of my opportunities to get involved, be they free things or programs or events. You can always come along and say hi. I would love to see you.